Normally, authors will call in from around the globe. Stanford Erickson lives right here in Vero Beach, Florida. Has a book called Mama's Boy Presidents. Why do we keep electing them? Actually, this book I've seen for sale nationally.
Yes, it's been selling on Amazon, but it's also here in the Vero Book Center. And I always, like you, I believe in supporting the community I'm in. So that's a good place to get it. But it's also on Amazon and the other book companies.
I think I saw it in the New York Times, didn't I?
I'm not certain. The publisher's involved with that. I'm not.
Okay, now, as a journalist, you worked with Hearst, McGraw-Hill, Knight Ridder, The Economist Group, all around the world, San Francisco, Korea, Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C. Spent a lot of time in New York, didn't you?
I spent about off and on 20 years in New York, both as an editor, and I did some public relations there, yes. Yes, sir.
So who gave you your first love for writing?
I couldn't do anything else. Well, I mean, I was good at everything, not very good at anything. So writing, you can get better by just working at it.
Were you a voracious reader as a child?
No, I was a voracious football player when I was a child. And then I didn't grow. And if I had grown as big as you, I would have been a good football player, I think.
Everybody thinks I played football. I can't stand football. It's too violent. You pay a heap of bunch later on in life for that short term of glory, right?
Absolutely. I know many good football players that don't have knees. Yes, very difficult.
Of course, today they can replace those, right?
Yes, but you walk sort of, it lasts about 10 years, I think.
Let's talk about your book, Mama's Boy Presidents. Why do we keep electing them? You say that President George W. Bush, Obama, and Clinton were all mama's boys.
Yes, Ronald Reagan as well. I break people into mama's boys and daddy's boys. And I started as a physicist at Berkeley, and I wasn't smart enough to be a physicist at Berkeley, so I studied everything else. But in physics, they teach that the Creator made a world that is very simple, if you can figure it out, and very efficient. So if you can get an efficient, simple way of understanding people, I believe you understand them pretty well. And I think...
Well, let me ask you this. Is mama's boy here a pejorative term?
No, I'm a mama's boy. But
well, so am I. And so is one of my favorite guys of all time, Winston Churchill.
That's what I've heard.
Never in the course of history have so few done so much for so many.
Well,
sound more like FDR.
Well, the nice thing about a mama's boy is that they tend, since they were the center of attention, their mother, they believe that they're the center of attention of the universe as well. So therefore, they have this optimism and this ability to want to be the center of attention.
Really? Okay, because I thought you were doing this from a negative light. I mean, that was just my take immediately from seeing the overview of your book. I've not read your book. This is the first time I held it in my hand today. But
nice and thick.
Yeah, and I also like the font you chose for. I think font's really important, don't you, as a journalist?
Yes, and I've been in printing all my life, and as we get older, you want a bigger font.
You do realize, of course, that this is just the beginning. I'm going to be harassing you now that I know that you're in town here, because I would want to pick your brain, because you're involved in purchasing, buying, and selling magazines. I mean, you go way back.
I started as a reporter, and I've just kicked every can all the way up. So, yes, I've also interviewed presidents, and I interviewed Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, been around presidents. I was the editor, so I had reporters do that too.
Well, God bless you and God bless me. It's good to see you again. I'm channeling through Rhett to see you today. Stanford, great to see you. Looking better than ever.
Ronald Reagan was a very unique person. When I was with him one time, and he was walking. He looked 72 years old, which he was. And as we came to the podium, he transformed, metamorphosized into this gorgeous man.
Seriously.
He had that ability. And, I mean, he was built that way, too. He had the good broad shoulders, narrow hips, but he just knew how to project his personality through his body.
My stepdad was a Democrat, and of course he was not a pro-Reagan. I said, I can't believe it. We certainly can't have a former movie star becoming the president of the United States. But do you think, in fact, that training maybe helped him look the part and act the part?
In my book, I do 5 biographies of presidents that are daddy's boys and 6 that are mama's boys. Ronald Reagan is one of them. Ronald Reagan often said that being in the movies and then being a union president prepared him in terms of media training of how to deal as a president. But more important, a mama's boy like Ronald Reagan loves being in the center of attention, so they campaign better. My premise of the book is that mama's boys tend to win elections. In the last 9 elections, 7 of the winners have been mama's boys. Now, the reason they win is with the 24/7 media cycle, mama's boys are better in terms of campaigning. They love to talk. They love to effuse. They feel your pain. A daddy's boy is who he is. A daddy's boy.
Aha. Aha. You got a big aha moment. Because, you know, I interviewed the fellow just lost, Romney.
Yes.
And
Daddy's
you know,
boy.
You're right.
Daddy's boy. Awkward.
I felt here, in my little office in Vero Beach, Florida, if I could only call him on the phone now, as we spoke in the past, and I met with him face-to-face, and tell him, you're not going to win this unless you reveal your heart.
It's very difficult for them, and it's not because they don't want to. It's just they don't feel the need to. They feel that they are who they are. Now, that makes them better managers sometimes, because mama's boys want to please so much that sometimes they can't make decisions. Now,
is that why Obama's construed as a quote-unquote Santa Claus, according to Rush?
Well, the problem with President Obama is that he's a conflicted mama's boy. A balanced mama's boy, like Ronald Reagan, though you're a mama's boy, you acquire the ability to understand the father, the masculine image. And Abraham Lincoln was a mama's boy, but he became a man. He manned up. So the mama's boy needs to man up. Romney, the daddy's boy, need to obtain the feminine quality so that they can effuse, they can talk about themselves. They're not uncomfortable talking about themselves. George H.W. Bush was a daddy's boy. I knew the campaign manager who's buying the advertising for George H.W. Bush, and he said, I can't get him to campaign. He doesn't like campaigning. He says, well, I've been a good president. I did these things, but you have to explain what you did. And the mama's boy...
He lost against Clinton?
That's exactly why he lost against Clinton. No
new taxes wouldn't be prudent.
Al Gore, daddy's boy, lost against...
Now listen to this. Now today, ironically, you're here. Even Jody pointed out, you're on the show with me, and later, in just a little while, I'm going to be interviewing Jeb Bush. And the funny thing is, according to my connections with the Bush family, his mom and dad both thought Jeb was going to run for the presidency. How different history would have unrolled had it been Jeb. Some comments on that?
I don't know enough about Jeb, but I assume he's a daddy's boy.
Oh, I know. I think he's a mama's boy.
Oh, you think he's a mama's boy that has acquired the dad? I haven't studied him. I studied his brother.
Well, let me see. What can I ask him that would reveal today?
What is his relationship with his mother? And see, I was not only a mama's boy, but my mother obsessed with me. I replaced my father to some degree. And with Barack Obama, he replaced the father to some degree. With FDR, he replaced the father to some degree. With Abraham Lincoln, he did. Those people that replace the father get an inordinate thought that they are messiahs, that they're secular messiahs, that they're going to save the world. Now,
do you think Lincoln actually thought that?
I think Lincoln, when he was younger, he knew he was unusual, so he thought he was illegitimate because he thought he was so unusually, because he was so gifted and because his mothers loved him so much and thought he was so talented.
Did you see that movie?
Yes, I did.
I've had what's her name, Kearns, on the show, you know.
Well, that movie, I've studied Lincoln a great deal, and everything in that movie was accurate except Abraham Lincoln would never take the Lord's name in vain, ever. Because not so much...
That I believe.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. Let's take a break. But listen, this is very exciting to get to know you. I didn't know you lived right in here town. Here you are, this gem that I didn't even know. I'm glad you wrote this book just so I could meet you. Listen, did you know this? I got to tell President Carter this, which was kind of cool. I was on the phone with somebody really famous the other day, and I got to tell them this story, and they didn't know it either. Oh, the guy that manages the Ford Theater. Listen to this. So, did you know that they were in Ford's Theater, and they're watching the movie? Now, Spielberg, who worked on that movie for 7 years, put this in the movie, but they're riding in the carriage. It wasn't in the carriage. It went by like this. Most people didn't catch it. They did it so subtly because, of course, the secular world doesn't embrace these things. But Lincoln was sitting next to Mary Todd Lincoln. They were watching a comedy in Ford Theater the night he would lose his life. And she said it was totally out of character that he leaned into her. Do you know what he said to her?
No.
He said, Mary, I'm imbued with a desire to go to Jerusalem. Boom! Those were his last words. I believe that was a desire to go to the New Jerusalem, and it's because he was a prognosticator. He could see things, you know.
He evolved spiritually. He never went to church until he became president. He went to church with his parents, but once he was 21, he never went to church.
He did a little on his own, huh?
On his own. But I think he was a very profound spiritual person.
I think so, too. Okay, we're talking with Stanford Erickson, Mama's Boy presidents. Why do we keep electing them? We'll be right back. He's a seasoned veteran as a journalist, 30 years?
30 years. I'm a member of the National Press Club in Washington. It's called Silver Owls. That means you've been there longer and you have gray hair.
And ironically, today I'm going to be interviewing Jeb Bush, which some say may run for the presidency. Will he be the president? Now, I would have thought today you would have said he was a mama's boy. You thought he was a father's boy. But let's talk about it when we come back. We're going to take a break. Stanford Erickson, title of the book, Mama's Boy Presidents. Why do we keep electing? We'll be right back. It's not over yet. Who loves you, baby?